Thank you, Ms.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable reps. Amendment 2058H concerns I.C.L.E.I, and in the amendment you will see that I refer to the Constitution, and in that part Dan Itza will be here to testify. He's a co-sponsor, and I will deal with the findings that show that I.C.L.E.I is a foreign.
If I may,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Explain to my committee what I.C.L.E.I is.
Okay.
So they understand.
Thank you. I.C.L.E.I is the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, which changed its name in, I forget, 2003 to I.C.L.E.I Local Governments for Sustainability. I.C.L.E.I helped write UN Agenda 21. They also published the local UN Agenda 21 planning guide. So is that all right on that? Okay. This is the some of the findings I have here in the amendment are taken from the I.C.L.E.I charter that has these statements that you will see that it was founded, here it is, founded in 1990 as an International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, as approved by the I.C.L.E.I Council in Athens, Greece on November 7th, 2003. Then goes on to its name and seat. The International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives was established as an international local government association in the year 1990. It shall, from 1 January 2004, be known as I.C.L.E.I, Local Governments for Sustainability. The association shall maintain its formal institutional relationships with its founding patrons, the United Nations Environment Program and the International Union of Local Authorities. So that's all taken from this document, which is their document. The mission is to serve a worldwide movement of local governments to achieve tangible improvements in global sustainability with special focus on environmental conditions through cumulative local actions. Okay, then I'd like to present as my third, because I've already shown you the charter, the third thing that I have, and I have copies for everyone, is from the I.C.L.E.I website, lists the members throughout the United States who have joined I.C.L.E.I. Copies for everyone. And as you will see in that document, if you look to New Hampshire, it's on page 2. It shows that Keene, Nashua, Portsmouth, and Wolfboro are members of I.C.L.E.I. And I've heard there's another community, but I don't have the actual showing that, so I didn't include them. But another community that has since, yes, Hudson, which has since joined is what I've heard, but I don't have that. Now, why we all love sustainability, and as far as we understand, our dictionary definition of sustainable and sustainability means the ability to maintain, and we love to maintain our farms and our forests and all of that. But if you were to read the document on the UN Agenda 21, you would find that they define sustainable by defining unsustainable. Now the next piece of information I have for you is from the UN biodiversity assessment listing what is unsustainables that are listed. It was a report directed by the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, and it calls for urgent action to reverse the effects of unsustainable human activities on global biodiversity, including but not limited to the following. Now, in their book, that assessment report, it doesn't list the things by single, short sentences, but I will give you an example of I'll give the page number and what that ends up listing as unsustainable. So a few examples are, let me pass this out first to you. Okay. So, as you see on this list, some of the things that if you were to read this report, some of the things that are listed, not by just words, but by long dissertations, are on page 337, ski runs, or 350, page 350, grazing of livestock, cows, sheep, goats, and horses. These are unsustainable. Disturbance of the soil surface, that would possibly mean, yes, putting in a garden. Fencing of pastures or paddocks is unsustainable. Road and trail construction, fossil fuels, agriculture. I find that one interesting. Agriculture is listed as unsustainable. Modern farm production systems. Chemical fertilizers, herbicides, we can maybe have some problems with those. Building materials. If you go on to the next page, I think the aquaculture, farmlands, rangelands, pastures. If you keep going down and at the page number 782, one of them listed is private property. Private property is unsustainable. So that they are taking our word that we understand to mean one thing, the ability to maintain, and they're using that word, but then in their actual documentation of what they're doing, they end up changing the meaning of the word. Okay. Now, to go on further, my next that I have for you is from to show how it's being implemented, and I'll get to locally. Here's a copy from the Federal Register, volume 63, August 24th, 1988. Oh, by the way, this program was the first President Bush went to the summit in Rio de Janeiro, and at that summit, the Earth Summit, he signed an agreement to sign the United States on to UN Agenda 21. It was then President Clinton in 1993, by executive order, implemented the sustainability and sustainable program into all the departments in the United States. And it has been continued throughout the second Bush and into the present president, and he has, by executive order, set up what's called the Rural Council, which has almost every department in the United States government focused on their sustainable agenda in the rural areas in the United States, which is only 16% of the population. Here is a copy of that from the Federal Register. And if you look at the highlighted area, this is from the EPA. The Sustainable Development Challenge Grant Program is also a step in implementing Agenda 21, the Global Plan of Action on Sustainable Development signed by the United States at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. Then the next part, through the Sustainable Development Challenge Grant Program, EPA also intends to further the vision and goals of the President's Council on Sustainable Development created in 1993 by President Clinton. EPA is coordinating existing urban development programs within the agency and with other state and local agencies. That starts to tie it in within New Hampshire. Now, the next one I'm going to give you, these are short information pieces, but they're in a number of different. Here's another that I'll give out to you. This is Valerie Brown reflects on her National Association of Counties. This appeared in the National Association of Counties County News. And it's her reflections on her presidency that she's now leaving. If you go down to where I've highlighted, what's next for Valerie Brown, I think you will find it very enlightening, since this goes into, a lot of our counties, if not all of them, are members of this organization. I am passionate about healthy communities, and as a board member of I.C.L.E.I USA, continue to advocate for energy efficiency and climate protection locally and globally. Making sure that health care reform is implemented with little cost to local government is another key focus of mine. So I think that helps to tie it into our local area. Now, the last thing I would like to present, and then I'll take any questions, is this, which is from the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona, just in the past week or two, passed through the House and their Senate this SB 1507. And I'd like to give them credit because if you read it, and I'll read it also, Rio Declaration on Environment and Development Prohibition Definition. The state of Arizona and all political subdivisions of this state shall not adopt or implement the creed, doctrine, principles, or any tenet of the United Nations Rio Declaration on Environment and Development and the Statement of Principles for Sustainable Development adopted at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in June 1992, or any other international law that contravenes the United States Constitution or the Constitution of Arizona. Since the United Nations has enlisted the support of numerous independent, non-governmental organizations to implement this agenda around the world, the state of Arizona and all political subdivisions are prohibited from implementing programs of, expending any sum of money for, being a member of, receiving funding from, contracting services from, or giving financial or other forms of aid to the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives. Similar to my bill. So that's, I don't think I need to read anymore. So I give you that as evidence also. So my job was, I felt, to give the evidence, and then Representative ICLEI can talk on the issues. I do have one little thing I forgot to do. This map, you can go to takingliberty.us and you can see this map better. And I do have copies, but it's hard to read. They're not the best. This shows a map of what the plan for the United States for the land is. The red areas are no humans, well, they're core reserves and corridors, little to no human use. The orange are the buffer zones. The black dots are the smart growth human settlements. And then the green are agriculture, that kind of thing. So you can see, and if we had a better focus on New England and New Hampshire, you can see that we cover all of that. There's a red and everything in there.
Representative Cartwright, can we have a copy of that just for the release report?
Yes, you can have a copy of.
You can pass it up to the thing, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I brought it in case you wanted a copy. I sent that out by email to every rep in the House and every senator. Okay.
Okay, are there any questions, Representative Bush?
Yeah, most definitely. First, a statement, and then I'll have a number of questions. I mean, this is a very comprehensive, complex issue, which I feel should not be tacked on as a non-germane amendment to any legislation. It needs a legislation of its own that needs to be fully, investigated. That being said, doesn't the I.C.L.E.I promote that you have to give up your individual property rights in order for it to be moved forward?
No, I.C.L.E.I does not say that. It is being done through incrementalism. It is not being done like a hammer hitting you over the head. It's being done in incremental implementations of it.
Towards the, okay, that being said, if you look at page 4 of the document you just handed out, at the bottom of the page, an individual who...
I don't have it now.
The United Nations Environmental Program stated that for progress to be made in implementing sustainable development, which we're talking about in number 21, in the United States, unalienable rights such as the right to property must be eroded, attacked, and struck down.
Okay. I don't have the document in front of me now. I gave it.
Okay, that is in the document. Also, furthermore, I mean, the implementation of I.C.L.E.I, and that's why I'm saying that it needs to be studied more out, and this is it's a non-germane, and I wish we had the time to debate fairly on this issue, and I'm not, trying to reprimand you, but I want to hear the other side as well. Advocates...
Well, may I answer? We had a hearing in front of executive departments for my original bill. No one showed up in opposition.
Okay, if I may, that being said, it's probably they didn't understand the issue at hand and the information. Well, that doesn't happen, but if I.C.L.E.I were to be passed, what they're promoting is that stacking and vacuum in housing, traffic congestion, managed control over our lives, mismanagement of water supplies, prohibition of natural resource management, leading to increased fire hazard, and private property restriction. That is also in that document on page 9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can go on and on, but I think the point I'm trying to make is this is a complex issue which needs to be vetted very, very carefully. I'm not opposed to the fact of bringing it forward. I think we need the time to investigate this fully. I mean, I've got other quotes, but I don't want to, take up all of the committee's time at this point. I would rather have a separate bill where we're looking at it 100%, in a very pro and con approach.
We actually vetted this pretty well in ED&A. We had hearings on it, and unfortunately went to the Senate, and the Senate...
No, it didn't go to the Senate.
It went to the
Other committee, and
it kind of got watered down. And
So the second committee killed it?
We didn't.
the municipal and county
Okay.
killed it as an amended change study.
Just if I may, to add on what Representative Burge is saying, I understand what he's saying about maybe putting it on, or putting it off, and maybe hold hearings next year, but I want to make it clear here, this is an issue here I want you to read, because I had our committee researcher, and did a great job. She gave you a package. Got to research it, because everything I've been reading, I think if we wait another year, that's more and more cities and towns are going to get sucked into this here. So keep that in mind. Read some of the things that you have here while we're listening to your testimony.
One other thing I'd like to add that I hadn't said yet, that it's being, the communities, one way that they're being brought in is there's grant money, and they are, I have another document that I could show that there's grant money from the Reinvestment Act and things like that to bring them into the program, the carrot.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Representative?
Representative Cartwright, you earlier presented a list of all the I.C.L.E.I global members divided by state into various communities. And I noticed New Hampshire, you have Keene, Nashua, Portsmouth, Wolfboro, and someone said Hudson.
Someone told me yes, that possibly Hudson.
And I'm wondering, do you know the process was joining I.C.L.E.I a decision of the city councils and the cities, and in the case of the town, either a town meeting or the selectmen, you know how these communities in New Hampshire joined I.C.L.E.I? Yes,
the communities themselves decided to join, because honestly, it sounds wonderful. Our individual towns and cities are not out to subvert property rights or anything like that. They are just being shown, they're being told sustainable. They understand sustainable as we understand sustainable. So in those cases, they are thinking of it in their terms. They don't understand the underlying factors that I have presented today.
Okay, thank you.
Representative McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got a feeling that perhaps we're not seeing the forest because of the trees. We are talking about the merits of this program, when in fact, it doesn't make any difference. What we should be talking about is the constitutionality of being a part of this program. That is the entire case.
Yes.
If I may, Representative McCarthy, that's something that we can address in the executive session. Do you have a question? And I understand and agree with you.
No, do you agree with me?
I agree with you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative. My question, in reading through the amendment, is rather lengthy and wordy.
Yes, it is.
And I'm quite thrilled with Arizona's. May I ask what you felt you needed to address above and beyond Arizona's much more simple, straightforward thing?
Well, I thought the amendment is more than my original bill, and my original bill only dealt with I.C.L.E.I because I had thought that dealing with it in just the I.C.L.E.I issue at this time might be easier for everyone, for me to present and everyone to understand. However, in my original bill, I didn't have all the findings, and I put the findings section in the amendment so that it's like a jury trial. You put your evidence in, and I felt that gave the evidence so people understood the bill better. But I do like Arizona's bill.
Okay, thank you. No other questions. I have some concerns here, and what you haven't seen that we got. Annie gave us some good information, and I'm kind of shocked at some of the principles that come under this here. And I'm going to go, like, for instance, Principle 27. States and people shall cooperate in good faith in a spirit of partnership in its fulfillment of the principles embodied in this declaration and in the further development of international law in the field of sustainable development. Are you familiar, have you read some of these principles?
Yes, and
Okay. We're going to move on. Please, everyone in the committee, read those principles. Yes, Representative Swinton.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, we have the Suncook River that flows through Alton, Farmstead, Pittsfield, Churchill, Epsom, right down. And we have this new group that has been formed. It's called the Suncook Valley Water Protection Act. I believe it falls under this group.
it could.
I'm asking the question, do you think it might?
It could, and I think that it might. I can't prove it. I know that, I'll give you an example of what where I live, out in Cheshire County, and my property is right in the middle of this. The Nature Conservancy, which is a non-governmental organization, is promoting to try and get a lot of easements on property for the watershed of the I.C.L.E.I River and the Cold River. And I went to I have a tree farm, my husband and I have a tree farm. We went to a tree farm field day at the Andorra Forest, which is, they own thousands upon thousands of acres, the Faulkner family. And there was a video presented on the plans for our area. They want to develop the Quabbin to Mount Cardigan Wildlife Corridor.
Oh,
In the presentation we had on the Suncook, would you believe that they want to, this is another layer over the shoreline protection. They want to own a quarter of a mile from the bank,
Yes.
which gives them natural rights of way into other people's property.
Mm-hmm.
Would you believe?
Yes, I would. There are so many fingers of this. It's like a spider web. It is. They have had 20 years to implement this spider web that is into every facet of our property lives.
Representative Blankenship.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Cartwright, for being here today. I just have a quick question about the financing of this type of program. If you read through the principles, like Principle 5 says, all states and all people shall cooperate in the essential task of eradicating poverty. It goes on to say, to the majority of the people of the world. Now, what's the financial burden to the richest nation in the world, which would arguably be the United States?
Yes.
I mean, are we going to now, with this program, have to fund getting every nation in this country, or in this world, out of poverty, so that we're all on a level playing field? Because if I read this,
The level playing field is whatever the level playing field's going to be, whether it's us moving the rest all the way up to where we are, or us moving down to kind of meet in the middle.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no further questions, thank you.
Thank you.